think I'm the only person I know who looks forward to summer in Texas. It wasn't always that way. I grew up around here and, man, I hated the heat as much as everybody else. But then I got older, I left home, and I went out into the world and experienced what it really means to be hot. Don't know why, but life has seen fit to put me in the hottest places imaginable. When I was 19, I volunteered to serve a mission for my church. Now, the way that works in this case is that you fill out an application saying that you are willing to go, but the powers that be decide where you're going to go. And I'll never forget when I opened the letter that said where I would end up, that I had no idea where it was. They sent me to Manaus, Brazil. For those of you who have never heard of Manaus, it's a city of about 2 million people, about 10 miles south of the equator, about 900 miles from the Atlantic Ocean, right smack dab in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. I spent almost 2 years in that part of Brazil, in several cities, all the way from Manaus to near the Bolivian border. But needless to say, it was hot, and it was a sticky, wet, hot. And we didn't have air conditioning. In fact, we didn't even have glass in the windows in our apartments. We had wooden shutters that we would close when we weren't at home, and then open when we were at home to get some airflow. But no glass, no air conditioning, and it was quite an experience. About 10 years later, I'm serving in the Texas National Guard, and we get deployed to Iraq as part of Operation Iraqi Freedom. And over the course of a year, I spent a couple of months in Fort Stewart, which is outside Savannah, Georgia, in the summertime. About a month in Kuwait, in the Arabian Desert, and the rest of that time in and around Baghdad. And the coldest I felt the entire time I was away was winter in Baghdad, where it would get pretty cold at night. But then again, most of the time I was there, it was summer, and definitely a different kind of heat than what I experienced in Brazil, but nonetheless hot. I'll never forget sitting in a Humvee in Georgia at about 2 o'clock in the morning, waiting to go on a range where we had to shoot targets from the turret of the Humvee. We were getting graded, and we had to do it at night with night vision, and it was hot. And I'm sitting in the back of that thing, waiting for my turn, just stewing. I just remember lifting my vest, my bulletproof vest, away from my chest and feeling that hot, sticky, moist air come up, from behind my shirt onto my face. And I have to say that since then, nothing has been that bad. And now, I kind of like it. I don't like being cold. I like the heat. I prefer the heat. I try to dress for it. I've learned what they used to wear before we had air conditioning, and I work out here in this unair conditioned shop, and I have to say I get way more done even on a hot summer day than I do on a cold winter's day when I can't feel my feet and my paint won't dry. So give me the summer. It isn't that bad. I used to be really hard on myself when I made mistakes. Partly, I think it was because I was young and didn't have a lot of experience to know any better. And part of it was because I was broke. And mistakes are expensive. And it just killed me every time I would have to start over with expensive materials, building something that, I might be pretty far into it and realized that I mismeasured something or looked at the plans wrong or something like that and had to start completely over again and wasn't able to salvage any of it. Yeah, I think about mistakes a little bit differently these days. I've come to see that it's a really important part of the design process. I go into a new project fully aware that I won't get the desired result until probably the third or fourth time. You make something, you test it, you find out where the mistakes are, then you redesign it, you make another one. Now, these aren't the only kinds of mistakes I make. Sometimes I just, slip of the hand. Like I said, sometimes I'll glue things together in the wrong order. Sometimes I'll just forget something. And they're still frustrating and they still frankly cost money sometimes. But that's fine. I just start over, do it better the next time. I figure that as long as I'm not making the same mistake over and over again, that I'm making progress. Mistakes are important. They're part of life. Nobody's perfect. And in fact, we can't become better without learning from our mistakes.